It's the Fresh and Friends podcast, and there's a great show coming right up.
Hello and welcome back to the Fresh and Friends podcast. I am joined today by Robert Manic Munday, and I've said his full name.
Yes, that is right, Jack Fresh Allen. You have said my full name. It is Allen, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't at one point.
Oh, wasn't it?
No.
When did that change?
I used to have the name Jack Jackson.
Jack Jackson. Were your parents like playing a prank? What? Jack Jackson. That's like Robert Robertson. Like,
Yeah.
That is shocking.
I like Alan Allen.
That's probably a closer one. Why? What? What's going on there?
So I was born Jack Allen, right?
Yeah.
My biological dad's last name is Allen.
Yeah.
My mum, this gets worse. My mum remarried when I was younger to a guy called Michael Jackson.
No shot. There's no way.
And when I was 3 years old, apparently, I don't know what was going on, changed my name legally in the UK by default to Jack Jackson.
Oh my god.
And then it was like, 5-6 years ago? Subsequently, my mum and Mike are not together anymore and whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't need to have his name.
Absolutely
So
not.
I go back to my biological name of Alan, and also like I didn't like it because like people laugh at it, but also like when I first got like a finance job and stuff, people like they used to not think I was American, but they used to take the piss. They used to be like, Jack Jackson. You say it in a real American
Just the
way.
noise is already annoying. I can, like maybe if your first name was Barry, that would be really cool to go back to, Barry Allen.
Yeah.
The Flash, that could have been dope. But
Yeah.
hey, I'll give it to you. Jack Allen is a pretty good stage name.
You did get my full name.
Well, okay,
Now.
we got there. But I enjoy Fresh. I hate Manic. I always, ever since I became broadcast talent, that's why I've tried to move away from it slowly and just told everyone to call me Rob because like Manic, it's nice. It's a 5-letter name. I was always like, I just want something short. I want sweet. And then I don't know, man. Maybe I just got old or something. And I was like, I don't want this name anymore.
So where did Manic come from?
Manic came from. Oh, that just swapped screens.
Shit, that's not good.
We're back.
That's not meant to happen
We're back.
because we're recording you on the separate
Oh
one.
no.
So that's not meant to happen. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll edit that out. Post-production.
Yeah, sure. Post-production, that's how it works. Manic came from, this is going to be terrible. So my original gaming tag, a very long time ago, used to be Zorb, Z-O-R-B. And then I was like, you know what, that doesn't make sense for anyone. And then I moved it to Twitch. And this is before Justin TV turned into Twitch.tv.
Oh, so you was called Twitch.
I was called Twitch for probably 2 years, and then all of a sudden they just changed the name of Twitch, and I was like, okay, I'm not competing with like a streaming service, and unfortunately, I just had this awful idea when I first started commentating because I started commentating Counter-Strike. Mm-hmm. I was like, I need something to happen when someone subs to me. Right? Mm-hmm. I was like, Manic Monday, that's such a cool song. What? That's so dope. And unfortunately, I just decided that was how it was going to be. And that's how it started. And
Nice.
It was, my early commentating days, I don't know about you, but I cringe so hard when I look back at it. It's shocking.
I think everybody does when they look at themselves.
I think they have to.
Yeah.
I think you got to go through that transformative period where you're towing the line between becoming broadcast talent, but also being a streamer. Because that's essentially when you're starting commentating, that's what you are. You're a streamer. You're not. No one's commentating straight out of the bat unless you get really lucky. So it was a terrible idea. I can tell you that much. Way too many hours spent singing that song. Never again, Jack.
So you started out in Counter-Strike?
Yes.
As a caster?
Yeah. As a caster, it was 2017. I went to IEM Sydney. Shout out for those of you that know. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Greatest event on earth, outside of Six Invitational, no matter where it is. Had to say that to make sure I got my plug in. But I went to that and I was with my brother. We watched the grand final. I mean, we watched all 3 days in the arena. Mm-hmm. And I was watching the guys on the big tally. Back then it was Uber Shouts and Yanko and Moses and those guys. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that looks sick. I want to do what they're doing. Yeah. So I came home, bought a PC and just started grinding endlessly. Like, it was just disgusting because Counter-Strike's just never stops.
It doesn't stop. Yeah.
It's literally like if you want to when you're starting out, you can cast from morning until night and then back in the morning again, which I did occasionally. It was a slugfest, man.
Did you have a job at that point?
Yes. Well, yes and no. I was, 21?
Yeah.
And I was juggling being a waiter at an Italian restaurant. Don't recommend for anyone. I will say, do not recommend when you're getting Italian wines thrown at you and you're an Aussie bogan like I am. Bro, I don't know how to say half those words. I was doing that in goalkeeper coaching though, because I'd only just gotten injured and I was like, been a keeper for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste all that.
Yeah.
I'm not about that life. I'm not about wasting that life, Jackie.
Fair enough.
It was fair enough at the time. And look, to be fair, it was a lot of fun juggling it all, but holy crap, it just takes a toll.
Yeah.
Like the streaming at night from 6 p.m. until sometimes 1, 2 a.m., even later than that. And then you're getting up the next day to go serve people pasta. You got to do it. You got to go through the slog.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get from, ultimately, I suppose maybe I'm a little bit oblivious to this actually.
Yeah.
How did you get from Counter-Strike into Rainbow Six then?
Bit of a fun story. It was James Devmarter Stewart.
That guy.
I can shout out that other Aussie guy that comes to a couple of events. I pursued casting in Australia for a while, and we got thrown onto a variety stage.
Okay.
So it was essentially the early versions of DreamHack Melbourne. Mm-hmm. So we got thrown on a stage where it was like NBA 2K, Rocket League, like all those games just like thrown into one.
And you cover all of them?
You cover all. It was shocking.
Fucking
It was
nice.
absolutely shocking. It was like 8 hours a day, and it was just random people. These were not esport people. They were just kids coming up to play. Again, you do things in your early career that you probably don't ever do again. Anyway, me and James hit it off like a couple of lovebirds, honestly.
Really?
And James was like, "Oh, if you ever want to get into Siege, let me know." And then I saw him a couple of times at the ESL studios with, do you know Cthulhu?
Yes.
They were flying Cthulhu from New Zealand to Sydney, and so I kept crossing paths with them doing CS because both broadcasts were on at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of it got to a point where I was like, I would love to get involved in Siege. And that was Pro League back in, 2019. Yeah, it was 2019 I started.
Nice.
And that was just a natural transition. So without Dev, I would not be here, I can tell you that.
Did you go into casting first then?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wouldn't have called it casting. It was more like, when you... Okay. For everyone who watches this knows Siege well enough. You know when someone doesn't know Siege. You know when someone doesn't understand how rounds work, how operators run. You understand fundamentally someone who talks about it. Even me today as a host, I still don't know enough about Siege to cast again. It is really obvious, and that was really a lot of fun because you just say things without certainty. And you know what? To be fair, it's how Jake Xenox has built his career, is saying things without certainty, but with certainty.
Yeah.
And he'll make you believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. The transition between the two, but started out as a play-by-play, and Siege is a really hard game to adapt to. If you haven't played it prior, which I'd only played 70 hours prior.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Bro, you're getting shot from 6 rooms away and you have no idea what's just happened. It was insane. And still to this day, I watch the game at a high level and it's it still blows my mind. It is still just one of the hardest FPS games to get into at the esports level.
I think a lot of people involved with Siege genuinely think it's the best thing ever made.
Yeah.
With the complexity of it, obviously the destruction and the different operator abilities, different maps, and so many variables.
That's it. That's the one. There's so many variables. The fact that when I first started playing, it was hang on, I can put this Maestro cam anywhere I want.
Yeah.
Anywhere I can stick it on a wall, I can put it on the ground.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want with this. And it was slowly and surely figuring that out. And I'm like, wow, the complexities of this game is insane.
Yeah.
When did you start Siege?
I started... I wasn't one of these people I started in the beta.
Yeah.
I started in Year 1, Season 1 when the game came out, but I didn't actually start in the Year 1, Season 1.
Yeah, okay.
Because I picked it up on Xbox, one of my best friends was like, "You've got to get a Siege. You've got to get a Siege." We used to play COD together all the time. So like, you know, a lot of COD. I've come full circle because I cannot stop playing COD right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Black Ops 6 is just like, it's consuming me.
I say it's fair. It's not. I'm not. We won't get into that debate right now. But yeah,
I'm a 30-year-old man still addicted to COD.
Hit me.
But I picked up Rainbow Six Siege, and my first ever game was on, playing the map.
Yeah.
And
what a map.
I played Twitch, but this was before Twitch drones could jump. So I was on the drone and it couldn't jump, and I was like, this game's fucking stupid. The drone can't jump. And I played one game, I thought, this is shit.
You cracked the shits.
And I didn't play it again for
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 months. And then I got back into it. So like, really it was more like, season 2.
But it was like close to the start.
Close to the start, yeah. So I've been involved in Siege for a long time now,
Yeah.
obviously.
But how did you get into esports? Like, how did that path start? Because, like, that's what I always find curious, is how people started in esports.
It's very funny because, like, when I stream and even just people in the community, you get messages like, oh, how can I become a talent? How can I get into this? And I suppose the general advice is you start out at tier 4 level and work your way through.
Yeah.
But in reality, almost nobody that we work with has done that.
Yeah.
Everybody has just fallen into it.
Yep.
So do you want the long story, the medium story,
or
or the
long
short
story.
story?
I want the long story because,
So-
mate, we haven't spent enough time together.
So I ended up playing Siege to like an increased level to help stopping an addiction, because I suffered with a gambling addiction, right?
Yeah.
So I was really, really deep into gambling. The day or the period that I stopped gambling, one of the big things for me was this time that I previously spent gambling I need to replace. And I replaced not all of it with Siege, part of it with Siege, part of it with seeing friends and family. At the point, tried exercising, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
To just try and replace that time that I would spend gambling, which
Yeah.
was more or less any free time I had. So my level of Siege really stepped up, and I just got like really into it, like really, really into it. And I used to go away a lot for work.
Yeah.
So when I was away for work, I would then watch streams of Siege because I was like, I want to get better.
Yeah.
So like, I used to watch Pengu religiously.
I was just about to ask.
Religiously.
Yeah.
It would be Pengu into Bolo, and then early mornings before work, if I was up, I would put King George on, and they would be the three.
Wow.
So like,
That's the
because I'd be in a
trifecta.
hotel, I would just, like we're in a hotel room right now, it's on the TV, just throw it on.
Yeah.
It's kind of why, that's probably that is, habit. And then, so I stepped that up. In terms of the esport level, because I followed then the esport,
Yeah.
this is gonna look in a way quite bad for me, but like I was like in my 20s. I by trade a qualified accountant.
Yeah.
I took a job at a big US conglomerate company, one of the biggest energy companies in the US, but obviously based in the UK at one of their facilities. And the person whose job I took had somehow managed to navigate it, that they thought it was a 40-hour-a-week job, and I had it done in about 6 hours. At this point in your career, you can either go to the people, give me more work, I want to advance, I want to do more, I want to have more responsibility.
Yeah.
Or you can sit and watch Siege YouTube videos.
I'm gonna take a gamble now. I'm gonna guess, and I'm gonna say my boy Fresh just decided, hey, YouTube videos is a good path.
And that's exactly what I did, yeah. I watched a lot of YouTube, a lot of Siege, funny moments, esports moments, everything. So I was watching like whatever esport was on and highlights. And then basically, because I did a lot of financial analysis, the actual job that I had at that time was senior financial pensions analyst or something. Analyst. Fucking terrible. I dealt with pension schemes. That's how.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Keep you on your toes.
I started predicting at that point in time. I thought, cool, I'm predicting stuff here. Why can't I just transfer this to Siege? Why can't I predict what teams are going to do?
Yeah.
I started with Team Empire because they did the same thing.
Of course.
So I started with Team Empire at that point, now Virtus Pro.
Yeah.
Predicting what they were going to do, and then just got absolutely engulfed in the whole of the esport, predicting what was going to happen. Absolutely by chance, I then ended up taking a meeting with Pengu and Shas about finance stuff in the UK.
No,
completely outside of the esport. Like,
how did that connect? Like, where did that connection come? Was it just by happen chance?
I was becoming just a bit more known on Twitter because I was just giving my views.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got you.
And basically, they knew. I think it was Pengu who followed me, and they knew that I was an accountant. And without getting into too much detail of what those two needed advice on, they needed some informal advice They asked me to go meet them, so I went down, and this is, again, I had not even been in a team or anything at this point. They asked me to go down to their flat when they were living in Reading. So I went down to Reading, and I met Pengu and Shas.
Wow.
For the first time, and I was like, holy shit, like...
That's a crazy turn of events.
Yeah. And I kind of sat there, I'm talking to them about the finance stuff. We wrap up and they start scrims, and they're like, oh, you can hang around and watch a bit of scrims if you want. So then I'm looking, and I go into, at this point, like, Shas's bedroom's here, Pengu's bedroom's like here.
Yeah.
So Pengu's actually scrimming, and I go into, I'm looking at it from Shas's bedroom, and he's got a monitor. No, 2 monitors, 2 vertical monitors, and then like a monitor on the side as well. He has like 6 monitors.
A space station.
There's spreadsheets, there's fucking POVs of all his players, there's analysis of his opponent, and I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my God, I want this. Anyway, that meeting, honestly, the best thing about that meeting is the whole day, for some reason, I had the shits. And I held it together the whole time I was there. And I was like, holy shit. Anyway, unrelated incident to this, Kickstarter tweets the same day, or maybe the night before, I'm looking for an analyst for my project team, because he had a project team going on. I get tagged in it by like a bunch of people, including some quite big content creators.
Yeah.
One of them being Meaty Marley, who I knew. And I got very lucky when I started like leaning into Twitter and social media that big people in Siege followed me.
Yeah.
Because Marley followed me.
Granted for your content.
Yeah.
Like that's not luck, you know what I mean?
Marley followed me, and then he tagged me in Kix. So obviously, you know, some of the biggest people in Siege, even in the content side, are tagging me. Kix messages me. I produce a portfolio out of my ass.
Yeah.
And he literally replies, he was like, I'm going to give you a shot. You don't know Siege, but I can see you're well organized, and you actually had a portfolio, and I understood your message. He said, people are just messaging me essays. And he's like, I got it. I need to go and find the message. But he was like...
Please, if you find that message, please show me. That is mad.
He was like, you don't know Siege, but I'm going to teach you.
Yeah.
And he's like, he then goes, can you come TeamSpeak? I had never used TeamSpeak. I didn't even know what TeamSpeak was. I fucking hastily download TeamSpeak, get on it, chat to him for like 3 or 4 hours, and then yeah, I'm away. Started with Team Sleepy, which consisted of Liven, Godly Noob, Janix, Cactus, and Tord and Guden. And then there was various other players that were around.
Yeah.
Literally from there, that project team kind of ultimately succeeded, but also failed. In that we didn't qualify for Challenger League, but at that point, people went on. Cactus went on to play for Vitality. Yannick went to play for Penta. I ended up in G2.
Just some small names.
Various people. Well, I wasn't even meant to go to G2 as well. I wasn't. So I actually was doing... Because the way it works with a lot of sports staff is a lot of analysts and sports staff don't ever necessarily get announced because teams outsource that stuff.
Of course.
So I, at that point, was actually trialing with Team Vitality.
Wow.
And I was trialing with Team Vitality. I was doing their counter analysis for like their regional stuff and then a little bit of tier 1.
Yeah.
And again, this was like Kix put me in contact with people and that type of stuff. And I actually went to Shas and I said, yo, Shas, like Vitality want to pick me up. They said they want to pick me up. How much money should I be looking at? And Shas goes, don't go Vitality, come to G2. And then we're off. So suddenly within 6 months, so from like June 2019 to whatever it was in the end of 2019, I go from not really being an analyst to being taught the game by Kickstarter to then ended up on G2.
You know, small names in the grand scheme of
honestly, mate, it was absolutely
history.
well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the difference as well between like, you know, being in as a part of APAC and being a part of like the European nations. Not that England's really part of the European nations anymore. We don't talk about that. But that is a huge difference. Like when I started, at my disposal, I had James Devmarter Stewart, GOAT.
Big name.
Absolute GOAT. I had Raven, GOAT. I didn't have him until probably like 2020. But like in terms of teams, like we had Fnatic and we had Wildcard. And although Fnatic's name was big internationally, there really wasn't a lot of that connection to the international scene. Like it wasn't until I think it might have been UBANZ that started pushing for Pro League to be, like ANZ Pro League to be on Rainbow Six Twitch
Yeah.
that kind of started to change the exposure.
And that
a
was
bit.
like 2020?
Yeah. That was after I joined. It was probably because I remember it was a big deal. It was like, oh, we're actually going to get like kind of, you know, front page access and people are going to be watching. And so there was a level of pressure that got added to that. But I think ultimately it did OS the world of good. Like, OS can look back at that and be like, thank you for pushing so hard to get us on main channel, because it's turned it into the... I'm being careful with the choice of words here. It's turned it into the shit show it is today. That's the best way I can put it.
The entertaining region that it is.
It's entertaining.
I remember, so 2020, obviously the world kind of shut down, but esports carried on, right?
Yes.
And I remember during like the first lockdown, not to get too much into the COVID times, but during the first lockdown, there was an elderly relative of mine that's no longer with us, but she was very particular, and she wanted a certain type of bacon, but she couldn't go out. So I had to go to every single shop in my city that was like of the same store. It's called Heron. You've probably never heard of it.
No.
I had to go to 8 different Heron stores and go and look for this bacon, but I had to wait for them to open. So I was sat in my car watching OS Pro League on my phone, and it was when, I don't know if you remember it, but there was a 1v5 ace on Cafe. I think it was Guz that cast it, Guz and Xenox, and it was like a buck that got the 1v5 in the post plan. It was incredible, and I was like, I fucking love this region.
It's the thing is like, and I can say this with my whole heart, because OS is my region. That has been my region forever. Entertainment levels have always been a good solid like 7 at the worst, easily 10 at the highest. Like easily, when the shenanigans are flowing and everything's working well, and we're competing internationally as well, it hits 10s.
Yeah.
The gameplay aspect of it, the mechanics. You know what? The mechanics actually aren't too bad. We have some sharp fraggers, but the tech side of it, it's very clear to see the difference.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's I don't know if I'm hated or loved by some of the OS community, but like...
Oh, loved.
I do show a big interest in it because I genuinely do love it. But I do it in like whenever I tweet about it, I know there's certain people in your scene that are like, fucking hell, Fresh has tweeted about us again. Chef Jeff in particular.
Oh, shit.
He's like, fuck's sake, you Fresh, you hate us. But like, I'm like, this is fucking shit, but it's funny.
It is. And that's like... I guess that's the element that we, like, as a broadcast team, we tried to lean into as well. Like, we obviously, when I first started with Pro League, working with, like, Monkey Fist and Cthulhu, shout out old names for those of you that remember these two. I mean, Cthulhu's still casting, but Monkey Fist has since decided to move on. It was really a different vibe. It was like you had to wear, you know, button-up shirts and suit jackets. And that was not an OS directive, that was a worldwide directive. It was like... everything's going to look quite pristine, and you know we're sitting in desks, and everything's like you're welcoming shows like this, and then we kind of like once Pro League or you know EFG, whatever you want to talk about, like moved away from that ecosystem, and we moved to more regionalized things like the Oceanic National League, for example. That's when we really started to shine and have a lot of fun with it, because it was like, okay, what can we do instead? Rather than just focusing on the actual action, can we start to build out these storylines? And we, like, for dumb luck, we got really lucky in 2021 where we had 4 teams competing in APAC South, and domestically, they were the funniest people in the Siege scene at the time. Knights may be excluded, and they will say that. They'll put their hand up and say, hey, we were, you know, they had Dino, they had Haywood, they had... Sage, a lot of names that Juicy even, like a lot of names that were pretty chill. But then you had Order that had like Virtue's brother Specker and just the rarest Jack Daddies and Digitals and all of these people that were just the most rare units that you could ever have. I personally think that just built like the foundation that has kept OS stably entertaining. It may not be the best Siege, but it's stably entertaining.
I absolutely love it. And I think the broadcast matches it, especially now with the setup that you guys got going on, it is honestly like, it's just a ball. Every single time.
Well, that's the thing is like, you would know this better than most people. When you're in studio with everyone, it's completely different. Like, we all went through the online era. We all got struck by COVID. We all had to be at home, like, just this. If we cut off the aspects,
You start staring at a
it was
camera,
really
yeah.
rough. That was really rough. But then the second those got lifted and opportunities got given when we were back in person, holy shit, it changed lives.
Yeah.
Like, just the ability to look at you and
Yeah.
talk to you like a real person. Yes, the camera's there. Yes, the audience is there. But it's this interaction.
But I mean, even from a host point of view, you're not queuing up a question and then a second and then your analyst answers and then you're like, okay, back to me, and then second analyst. And
Correct.
You can just have a conversation.
That's a really good point. Like, technically, fundamentally, on an online broadcast, it is very Q&A.
Yeah.
It's naturally like, I have to ask you a question, and then you stop talking, and then unless the other person's prepped themselves, I then have to ask another question there,
Yeah.
and it's just...
Yeah, I've seen broadcasts in Discord where you'll see like the analyst desk and they'll put like a plus
Yes.
or a bullet point in or full stop, sorry, in a Discord chat, and you just see this chat full of full stops,
It's
and it
just...
means that I want to talk or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
it's brutal.
It is, and it really disrupts the flow of of broadcast talent. Not their points, not what they're doing, but like just the
It limits how
relationship.
like creative you can be.
Absolutely,
as
it does. Like, you can't really do bits. Like, bits don't land that well online. We tried our fair few in APAC South days, and look, some of them landed. Some of them were a bit of fun. Most of them were just shocking. Like,
Yeah.
most of them were like, oh, why did we even bother doing that? Whereas now, OS League, like, we've got room to play. We're just running around the stage. Like, we're literally sitting on a couch, shooting
Such a nice
Nerf
set
guns.
as well,
It's
with
just-
the couch and the TVs, and it's
Mate,
so nice.
It's just pull a Nerf gun out, shoot the person closest to you. As long as you don't really aim at them, it's all fun and games.
Fair enough. So outside of hosting
Yeah.
Siege, I suppose we can actually let's continue with hosting Siege, and then
Sure.
we'll talk outside of that. So hosting Siege,
Yeah.
Six Invitational, the first big one last year.
Yes. Yeah. Six Invitational was really the first event that I hosted properly. Most of it had been prior to that was online or just regional leagues and stuff like that. Did a lot of Japan League, did a lot of APAC South and all of the fun stuff. But yeah, SI was the first chance I had, 24 in Brazil, to host
Crazy.
an event. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. I think, I went into that with the mentality of just enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And it can be really difficult to enjoy yourself when you're broadcast talent, because especially when you're new on the scene, like, I'm really lucky. Guz, Dev, and Xenox, and Mandy, but Mandy had decided to piss off after that. All of them had set a really good standard. Like,
Yes.
all of them had shown that I don't have to prove that an Australian can do the job.
Yeah.
They'd all already shown that, like, through events for 2-3 years solidly,
Yeah.
that the Australian talent was serious at what they did. So I kind of came into it, was like, okay, I don't have to set a standard. The standard's already set. I have to come in and meet it and enjoy myself. And that, honestly, like, the people that you work with, they make this job worth it. So it's like, I just get to sit there and ask the dumbest questions.
Yeah.
And watch people's brains tick until they figure out. And it's just incredible.
Yeah, it actually really is. I think you never want to disrupt it, and I don't think you ever could stick a camera in there. But like, even just when we're not live, how well everybody gets on, and how much
It's crazy.
how much we end up getting up to and stuff.
You know
is
what? You could stick a camera in there, but you could not stick a microphone in there.
True.
There's no microphone that's going in that area, but the camera you could well and truly.
There's a sanctity of the green room as well. That
No, there is. You don't stick cameras in people's faces in the green room. There's a story for people that want to like learn and are looking to get into positions that maybe you're trying to get on the EUL broadcast, the NL broadcast, whatever it is. Just know, off camera, that is like, there is a standard that you just
Yeah.
hands off. If you want to film something like we're doing now,
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine. If you want to film something funny, of course, but do not go shoving cameras in green
Yeah.
rooms, whatever you do, because it's just like, it is a sanctity. It's like
Yeah.
you can't break that trust.
Yeah.
You don't regain that trust.
We hit delirium often.
Oh, way too often.
And then, so we moved through from you. Montreal Major was the next one, was
Yep,
it?
yep. Montreal Major.
Main stage?
Yeah, that was a big one. That was really a lot of fun. It was the first time working with you.
It was, because we was in Brazil together, but the way that they did analysts in Brazil last year is there was a set of analysts that did the first half and a set of analysts that did the second half.
Correct.
And I came
likewise
in
with hosts.
after you moved on. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was, I will say it was pure chance that I got to do Montreal. Unfortunately, Milosh, his visa didn't get approved in time, or there was something that held him up that couldn't get him to Montreal. And I got the call. I still remember the night. I was just sitting there, and our talent manager just gave us, he was like, "Oh, can you jump on a call real quick?" And I'm like, if I lost my job, did I say something on broadcast I shouldn't have? It was right after stage 2.
Hey, I've got some feedback for you.
I just knew, I was like, we had really, like, stage 2, we brought Vinny in for the host league, and I was like,
Who did an excellent job, by the way.
Yeah, Vinny. I mean, Vince here, I've known Vinny since my first day casting. He was one of the first players I cast. And I have a lot of respect for him. He's done a phenomenal job throughout the years. And now that he's like kind of a mainstay, he's killed it. Anyway, I got that call, and I kind of just like, I think it was like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I went and woke up Bubba, which most people wouldn't know Bubba. That's my wife. She frequently, if you listen, she'll frequently get a name drop on the OS League. But I woke her up, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to Canada. Like, you're just going to have to put up with this one. I'm off to Canada, unfortunately.
I got the call.
I got the call. And I might have been 5th choice, but I got the call. But no, Montreal was incredible. I mean, everyone was so nurturing towards, kind of being on a main stage and everything. And, for all of you guys, it's just part of the job now, right? Like, once you've been there, you've done it. There is a level of certainty that you have when you walk onto a stage.
Yes.
You've done it so many times now, and I think all of the analysts and all of the production staff, everyone, Ian as well gave me some great advice. Like, it was so easy to work with everyone that it just made it like it was just a broadcasting studio and there was no one there.
Yeah.
Even though, there were plenty of people there, the noise was very loud. It was a great experience, man. I wouldn't take it back for the world.
It definitely does create pressure when there's like the desk and there's like just hundreds, if not thousands of people just looking at you at the same time as well, depending on how the setup looks. And it's crazy.
I try to remember that the people that because I did IEM Sydney 2019, and that was probably the biggest thing, even to date, that I've done. And I just remember like looking out and seeing, 7,000 people out there, and you're like, and this was for a show match that I did. It was nothing.
Yeah.
And you look out there and you're like, holy, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then you realize, like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Generally, people like that. Whether you do a great job or whether you do the job, no one's really going to berate you unless you are terrible. In which case, please berate me all you want. But like, everyone out there is just like you and I. We're Siege fans.
Yeah.
We're just there to enjoy the games. We're there to enjoy the talent, the people that are your favourites. Like watching the analysts interact with all the fans. It's like shows how deep the community really runs at international events. And it's fantastic.
It is amazing. I love Montreal. It was fun. It was a short in and out, but it was a fun event.
It was very short in and out.
Probably even longer for you in terms of the travel to do a short in and out.
It was shocking. To be fair, though, I was there for other content.
Oh, you was there in advance,
Yeah, correct. I was there for more content, so I was very fortunate. It wasn't an in and out job for me, but I will say Ian gave me the greatest piece of advice I've ever been given for a broadcast. Maybe outside of like my very first initial round of feedback I ever got, and it was take in the moments when you get it, because before you know, you'll look on the ground and see the gold glitter. And mate, he was spot on. It was like, I remember the moments where we were just about to go live. You hear in the comms like coming to you in 3, 2, and you kind of like look up, you see everything, the cameras, the lights. You just took it in for a second.
Yeah.
Straight into work, and then before you blinked, W7M were boasting, I should say, a gorgeous trophy, but holy crap, it happened so quick.
And then you're on the flight back home.
Literally, and it's just the blues.
Yeah.
It was a very quick, very, very quick event.
So speaking about Montreal, you said you was there for media as well.
Yes.
You do that as, I suppose, the other side of your life is working in media. What do you do, I guess, then? In that side of things?
It's a good question. So my wife and I, Bubba, we own a production company called Rect Productions. Some of you might have seen some of the broadcasts before. We've covered a shit ton of things. I could probably like break it down really simply. We're a content production company that focus on live streams and esports tournaments. So we have a mix of everything, which is really good. However, I will say, ever since owning that company, look, I'm a big boy now. I'm telling you right now, before I had that company, I felt limber. I felt quick. But it was during COVID. We had, we just had like months and months of nothing. And Alicia and I, my wife, looked at each other and we were like, let's just do something. Let's have a bit of fun. It started out as a merchandise company. And then me and Alex Sky McCallum, shout out The Observer, we decided to put on like a Beyond the Summit style tournament, smack bang in the middle of COVID. And I was like, hey, this would be a great idea to like, name this something and to kind of, I guess, market something with it. And the idea was to turn it into like a marketing opportunity to sell merch and all that stuff. And once we started doing the production side of it, I was like, you know what?
You can do it.
I reckon we can do this. And it was the worst decision I have ever made.
Really?
Just the stress, mate. It is unreal. I reckon the very first broadcast we ever did outside of Siege, I think I lost 5 years of my life just purely in stress. Just unbelievable amounts of stress. Like, you buy the equipment might set you back anywhere between 20 and 50K. And then you just hope it all works. And if you know, like people who work in production will attest to this, and you see it at big events, you can set everything up perfectly. Everything can be running. And then you go live and everything shits the bed.
Yeah.
And that has been something that we've learned through and through is, production things just don't go right. But no, we've done so many Siege tournaments across the years, The most notable ones were always the gauntlets that we did with the OS leagues, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm not going to say it spawned the shit talk because the shit talk was already there, but it highlighted how good the Australians were at just going at it in chat. Like we were the first tournament to open up all chat and just say, do whatever you want in there. And the boys took that literally. And in the second tournament, we had to rope them back because we were like, guys, you are fucking going wild right now. But that was a lot of fun. It was like really great experiences, and since then we've been able to do like the Japan League and the Korea League last year.
So you're involved in producing them?
Yeah. We had two producers on, Isaac and Ethan. They took care of the shows there. So we took over from Therme, who was now doing
he was doing about a million things at once.
Correct,
right?
And then he got the NAL job, and basically they needed people to do it. And fortunately, we were in a good position that we'd shown enough work up until that point.
Nice.
But yeah, we've done that. We've done lots of content with Ubisoft for leagues and everything. So
did you do the previews for the Sixth Invitational? Those media pieces that went out.
Yeah. That was a really cool conversation.
That's cool.
That came around in December, and it just happened so quickly. We got to do the team introductions for the 5 videos. And we also did the hype trailer as well. So it was a lot of fun working on those.
Nice.
I mean, the blending of the two worlds.
Yeah. Because you must see like Ubisoft and a Blast involved in that as well, presumably?
Yes, yeah.
So you see Ubisoft and Blast from that point of view.
Correct.
And then from a talent point of view.
So I've got to be super careful who I piss off and what I say. No, they're honestly, like, I've got to say, like, Blast and Ubisoft are so focused on the community, and I can say that from the bottom of my heart. Creating content, broadcasts, and tournaments with them, they genuinely give a shit how this all turns out. And that is something that I think is super rare, to have tournament operators, to have publishers that genuinely care about the end product, not just for the commercial aspect, but for the players who are competing, the talent, the community at home. It's like we are so lucky to have Ubisoft and Blast as the extension for the broadcast tournament side. Yeah, it's unreal.
It has been good, to be fair.
We've been really, like, I think people would not realise how lucky we've been when you look at, now I'm going to go off script a little, and just feel like when you look at things like the Overwatch League and you look at like the downfall, what started up here just very quickly, rapidly descended. And, it's not to say, I don't know anything about like the inner workings of the Overwatch League. I'm not going to pretend I do. But like you can just see like Siege has been stably increasing ever since I joined. And I could only imagine prior to that, it was on the exact same trajectory.
I thought you were just going to take full credit for that. Siege has been increasing since I joined.
Since I joined.
All because of me, nothing else.
Has nothing to do with me.
I do the content, I do the talent, it's all me.
Look,
baby.
basically what I'm saying is we're God. That's what I'm saying. No, Siege has been one of the esports that I've looked at, and it's just never stopped. Like, it's just continued to do this.
Yeah.
And now we're at a point where, it is a tier 1 esports.
Yeah.
Shout out tier 1.
We face our trials and tribulations, as any esport will, and
Don't we just?
Of course, obstacles in the road. But yeah, I think we learn every single time. I've been through a lot of events now, and I've
How many are you on?
Oh, God knows. Should I name them?
Let's start,
mate. I actually cannot believe. So Yavla 2021, Six Invitational 2022. Charlotte Major 2022, which I wasn't meant to go to, but ended up going to it because Fabian didn't want to. He just didn't want to go to the USA. He's like, don't like the USA, not going.
Okay, you do you, Fab.
So yeah, that's 3.
Yeah.
Berlin Major, Gamers 8, Charlotte Major, SI 2023, Copenhagen Major, Gamers 8 again, Atlanta Major, SI 2024, then Manchester, Esports World Cup, Montreal, 15th. This is my 15th in a row.
Holy.
I've not done a tier 1 esports since I joined.
Mate.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
That's an incredible life. How do you juggle it? Because I know, can I dox that you have work outside of this?
No, it's absolutely fine. I'm very open about that.
You're an accountant outside of this.
Yeah,
right?
but I wasn't. That's only a recent thing.
Oh, okay. So you've only just gone back to it.
So when I got the EUL offer, crazy, because obviously I'd been in G2, I'd been in Chaos. I retired. I'd had enough of the Siege at that point in 2020.
Yeah.
I'd had enough of the meta as operator as support staff and whatever else. I was struggling with it. And then did a bit of casting, tier 3 level, just for fun, basically. And then when I got the call for EUL, I was actually working in the finance job, which was, I actually found it really engaging, but it was not a shit show. It was a company where the company had massively exponentially grown, and the finance function hadn't grown with it, so it was playing catch up. And I was unraveling all of that. It was great fun. I say fun, that's spreadsheets and finance, and I'm sure lots of people hate it.
Some people enjoy it.
However, I wasn't desperately tied to that job. I got the EUL call up, had to go to Paris for 2 months. And I'm like, shit, what do I do? And the next morning...
Good question.
The next morning, I was actually in a boardroom like this, and say you was my boss at the time, I was sat over there, and I slid my resignation letter across the boardroom.
Gangster.
Boss did not have a clue it was coming, and he was like, no.
I'm not accepting this.
And this company at the time, they were owned, it was a person that owned it, one of the billionaires in the UK owned this company. Don't really want to go too much into the name of the company.
No.
But they refused to let a lot of people work from home during COVID or take furlough or anything. They basically were very, very strict on people coming into the office and whatever. So I spent a lot of the time after Siege in COVID, because I took a 6-month break, in the office working and stuff.
Wow.
I slid my resignation letter, and he goes, no. I'm going, well, I've resigned. He goes, what have you worked from Paris? And this was unheard of. So my first EUL stage, I did work from Paris. But my only commitment, because it was a manufacturing sales company, we did weekly accounts. So I had every Monday I had to get the accounts done. Yeah. And then go to EUL on the Monday, and then I had no other commitments, and they still paid me full time for those 2 months.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
They really wanted me to stay. They were like, we'll give you a 15k pay rise plus bonus. They really wanted me to stay. And I was going to, and then as soon as I got the offer for the Yavla Major, I went to Jönköping as well. I missed that one.
16.
So 16. I was thinking about Sweden. As soon as I got the offer for the Yavla Major, and without discussing too much talent rates or whatever, I think it was 8k in the 2 months of EUL. Yeah. And then the offer for the Yavla Major was about 12. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So across that 3-month period, that was 20k.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I can do a full-time job in this. Even at this point in time, like I own my own house and stuff. I'm pretty stable financially.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can live off like 30 to 40k. I can live a pretty simple lifestyle, but maintain my lifestyle.
Yeah, live within your means.
And I'm like, I've got to just throw myself into this. And because it was in the office, the finance job, if the finance job had been remote, I'd maybe try to juggle both.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't want to get sick before the Javelin major, because I was like, that is now like 1.5 times what I earned for 2 months in Paris.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, like,
I can't do this.
I can't do this. So I went back and I had 1 day in the office. After going back from Paris, my return day on the Monday, I had 1 day and I got a meeting and he said, cool, so we're good to go. Were you staying? I was like, no, today's my last day. I was like, you had my notice 2 months ago for a 1 month notice. I'm not coming back tomorrow. And then, yeah, went full time.
Wow.
And it was only very recently
Yeah.
that I went back into finance, and that was for Dairy's company. One up sales. Friends! Nepotism.
Briefcase wanker.
Nepotism friend. Derry had an issue with his company where he'd hired in a junior accountant.
Yeah.
And he has an outsourced finance director. And basically, the outsourced finance director couldn't manage the junior accountant. There was too big of a gap between the day-to-day and the finance director, so he needed somebody to sit in the middle.
Yeah.
Which I agreed to do on 4 days per month on a contractor day rate. I got in there and I was like, Derry, your company's growing because it's a startup company in SaaS, in tech, but your finance is not optimal.
Yeah.
Your finance systems are not optimal. You're going to outgrow your finance team. It's going to be a shit show. I steadily got more and more involved until the point that it made sense that I then became an employee.
Yeah, okay.
So now I am an employee, but I am also like running finance.
Yeah.
And also my agreement with Derry, because I'm a part-time employee, is I can work from when and where I want.
Yeah. That's pretty important. Luckily, your boss knows.
Luckily, my boss knows when I'm skiving off work to film podcasts. He knows because he sat downstairs. So yeah. In terms of juggling, it's not too bad. In all honesty, it's weird putting on different hats at times, but I've always been very good at compartmentalizing those things. And yeah.
I suppose as an accountant as well, like there's a certain level of sectioning off parts of your own life that is very relevant to your job as well. So it's like a juggle between the two.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it has its challenges because, like, you know, I've fallen out with me and Derry, like, really, really good friends, like best friends level of friends, you know, similar to you and some of the Australian guys, I guess. And no,
Fuck them.
cut that. But I've been mad at him on a personal basis.
Yeah.
Maybe even a professional basis in terms of being cast and broadcast talent.
Sure.
But then I've still had to be very mutual and speak to him
Oh, mate, I understand
in a work basis, and it's been like, it tests us, but it's also really good. And you know, I love the business in terms of One Up. I was the one that pushed to become an employee because, like, whenever you are in a startup company, and you'll know this, having a small company,
Yeah.
if people are lacking, they get found out very quickly and they get moved on.
Yeah.
So what you're left with is people who are high performing.
Yeah.
And because it's a startup, because it's building, it's like everyone's just like fucking energized.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love it.
Yeah.
I love working there. And I never thought, actually, I thought once I was out of finance and into esports full time, I was like, if esports ever finishes, I need to find something else because I can't go back into finance.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, actually, no, I love it. Like, I'm doing
'cause
finance.
There's an energy to
But
it, right?
there's an energy to the business and there's an energy to the people. And
Yeah.
there's some seriously high performing people there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, the smaller the company is, the easier it is to maintain that. The easier it is to, like, structurally look at it and be like, this person is not pulling their weight, and you can see it impact the entire team. Like, our team, we've only got, like, maybe 10 on a really good day of, like, casual part-times.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can see what happens on a day-to-day. And it's like, it's so structured that you can see it straight away. Whenever there's issues, you know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And that's difficult once you get to a certain size. Once you get to like a bigger size company, you kind of lose track of everyone. And I mean, not that I will ever own a big size company.
You have those
I'll
layers
tell
of
you.
middle management and all that stuff. Wow.
And I'm not, I will say, like, you know, for all of what we've built, I will never go bigger than probably 20 employees ever.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'd rather stick to like 10. It's just the maintenance of it and like the care of it is just so much tighter. Like, it's just easier to understand everything.
Yeah.
Then also there's another element where you start becoming friends with everyone. And then it's then you've really got to try to separate business and friendship.
And that hurts if you've got to let them go.
Mate, just ask Jake Xenox and Diddy. We have had our brawls over the days.
Really?
We have had our...
Well, we will, because you're both going to be on the podcast later on.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we'll definitely have that.
I'll be exploring that.
We'll have it out.
Oh, fair enough. I think that's probably going to wrap us
Let's
here
do it.
at this point. So obviously, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and
Jack, I love you, man.
and telling your story. I love you too, mate. It's been it was so natural. Again, the first time that we met you and you met us or me, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely a pleasure.
Huh?
So
Pleasure's all mine. The pleasure's all mine.
So thank you for joining in the podcast. This will be live probably after the Six Invitational. In all honesty, doing a lot of recordings for what's going on right now, and then for afterwards.
I understand.
I understand. But yeah, thank you all for watching as well, and make sure to tune in for the next one.